Most people fail mentally because they're trying to jump from zero to financial freedom. But today we're going to be talking about the real process: pressure reduction, consistency, momentum, and freedom. So when I'm in these things, I find out that honestly, there's not a lot of people that are like, "Hey, I want to do 50,000 a month on Amazon. I want to do seven figures on Amazon." A lot of them, believe it or not, just want a side hustle. They just want a little bit of extra money. They would like an extra $1,000 a month in profit for their family. They would like an extra $2,000 a month in profit for their family. They aren't shooting for the stars, and they literally are just trying to secure that extra money so that they don't have to go back into the workplace. In some cases, you have stay-home moms that are trying to just create that little bit of extra income. So again, you don't have to go back to work. You can hang out with your kids. You've got those men out there that are working who want to have an additional source. And quite honestly, it's not that difficult to just buy products and then send them into Amazon and have that. And then you have that next level of it once you see that it actually is working, where you actually want to transition it into something where it does cover your paychecks, right? So what happens is, I mean, not everybody, I'd say, not everybody's out there saying, I want to build a multi-million dollar store, and some of them may not necessarily be mentally ready for the I'm going to quit my job. And you can't sit in the live today and not admit that that is a scary experience to be holding down a position that creates for you a steady paycheck. And in the absence of a paycheck in the business world, we would call that cash flow, right? Because it is bringing you money. And then again, mental preparation for financial freedom is just not going to. But what we are ready for as sellers, resellers, or whatever you want to call this space is extra grocery money, covering car payments, covering our house payments, replacing overtime, paying down our debt, reducing stress. Those are the things that we really should be talking about. Keith, good to have you in here. Liz, thank you so much for joining. Russ, stop, Russ. You're too much. You're too much. I don't know why I'm gonna pull somebody up in the thing. Araceli, good to have you in here. Mark T, thanks for joining. Yeah, I'm pull you up into the somebody up on the thing to talk instead, so I can go and like post like pictures inside of the chats. But these are very real, right? That's very real because that is the difference between having to work the extra day. That is the difference between having to stay a couple of extra hours on your limited income that you have, right? So what do we do about this? How do we work our way through that so that it can happen, right? Because this is more of an emotional connection. And what we want to do is we want to stop thinking of Amazon as this like I'm going to get rich. And no matter how much you're sold that idea on TikTok, Instagram, you are going to have to put in some work before you get to the point where you feel like you're going to get rich. And even if you had a lot of money, it would not get rich overnight. It is impossible to get rich overnight on it. It just isn't, there's not one thing. Maybe you could invest in a stock and then maybe it takes off overnight. You wake up in the morning, you're rich. You're just like, bitch, I did it. And then you can come back to me and say, bitch, you were wrong. I was rich overnight. But for everybody else, we're gonna have to build it. So we want to prepare ourselves emotionally so that we're not doing that. And then we want to make sure that we understand that we start these things, we start these side hustles, we start these things because what we're trying to do is we're trying to overcome that life is getting more expensive. That's what's happening. Life is getting expensive. Bills build up. Inflation is not going away. And we start feeling behind, and we really need that breathing room. You know what I'm talking about? That's the difference. Like I made jokes about it if you didn't attend my webinar yesterday, and I do the webinar every week and it changes every week. I never know what the slides are going to look like when I get on there, but I'm going to tell you, I did the webinar yesterday, and one of the things I said was inside of there is that we're working towards. Oh, when it was over, I told the guys, I said, no, no, no. I need to communicate that we're working towards not fuck you money, but fuck off money. Like, you know what? Fuck off. I'm not coming to work today. Fuck off money. It's a totally different type of money. It gives you breathing room. We're not talking about the kind where everybody gets the fuck you. It's like, no, we're talking about the, not today. Fuck off. Not today. Right? And that's different. That's breathing room. And we want that. So most successful businesses out there, they don't start as empires. They start as someone that's trying to make a few $100s. That's it. You start going, you're like, you know what, I think I could do this. I think I could actually make a little bit. I can make a little bit with it. That starts that way. But the perception in the marketplace when we look around is young guys driving around fancy cars. The lifestyle becomes so extravagant that we think that we have to do we have to take these huge and I'd say uncontrollable because they feel almost out of control, like jumps just to get to those places. And, the reality is those guys didn't get there overnight either. And a lot of the data that they show you took some time to build as well, right? Okay, good. So we're going to talk about the next thing, which is the first goal in what you do. And it has to do with replacing pressure, right? We need realistic milestones that take away the pressure of having to do something right now, right? Whether it be your first goal of having $300 profit in a month, or maybe we have another goal of I'm just going to spend $100 a week, or maybe the next goal is I'm going to make enough to cover the car payment, or I'm going to make enough to cover the household expenses of the power bill, the groceries, and all those combined, right? Or the next one of I'm going to make enough to pay the mortgage, pay the rent. And then at that point, then we can start looking at what does a replacement for a paycheck look like, right? Does that make sense? Yeah. So then what happens is your side hustle becomes dangerous the moment your bills stop owning you. Because you just say, well, I'm just going to, and for those of you guys that don't know, in the payout screen, you don't have to wait. You don't have to wait for the payout. I was working with one of my sellers. She's on a mentorship, and she was like, I said, listen, there's a sale coming up. We were trying to predict a sale coming up for the Bath and Body Works sale. I said, it's coming. You're not sold through this product right here. I said, and if you sell through all of it, you'll get a payout early. You can use the payout to buy the product. She's like, well, no, because I only get paid every 2 weeks. That's not when you get paid. Money owed to you today is owed to you today. You don't have to wait for it. You can push the button anytime. And if you do it correctly, and a lot of people ask me, when do I take my payouts? Every Tuesday, I have a payout. I push the button on Sunday, I have a payout. Every Wednesday, I push the payout, I get a payout on Friday. Why do I do it? Cash flow. I do it for cash flow. I do it so I can feel like I'm human. Otherwise, it comes every 2 weeks and you're just like, damn, I waited forever. You don't have to wait. It's my money anyways. Did you know that every single time you push the payout and it pushes it out another 2 weeks, it does not change the fact that the money that was owed to you by that Friday, by that next Friday, is still owed to you on that day? So let's say you have a payout and it's like $1,500 and it says it's going to pay it to you. Here's an example. Next Friday. But 800 of it is available right now. Do you know what you can buy with 800? A lot. Do you know what you can do with 800? Pay down some of your bills. Do you know you can do that, right? So you push the button and you say to yourself, damn it. Now it's saying I'm not going to get another payout for another 2 weeks. But that does not change the fact that the other $800, $900 is still owed to you. And on that following Friday, you can still push the button for that $800, $900. You're still going to get it. It didn't change that it's still owed to you because it's owed 8 days after the customer gets their goods. So once it's owed to you, it moves into the net proceeds and you can collect it, right? So doesn't it seem like a little more doable if we can collect money on it every couple of days, Tuesday, Friday? If you have instant deposits, a little bit different, but I don't do instant, so I'm not quite sure what those look like. But that changes it, right? Because now we can control our bills. Now we can control things. And in that example that I gave with the mentor student, I was like, you're not going to buy more during this sell unless you actually sell out. So she's like, well, I don't understand what that means. I said, well, what would be the purpose of buying more if you don't sell it? I said, you have 40 units on just this one ASIN and it's going to be on sale for $295. And I said, and if you sell out all of it, then you have every reason to buy more. And it's at FBA, which means the customers are going to get it in 1 to 2 days, which means you'll get your payout in 10 days. And she's like, oh my God, I didn't think about that. She sold out all those units in 2, 3 days, had the payout. used it to buy more product. That same product, she could go back in stock with the amount that she sold. She had the profit. And I'm not saying that the overall profit of what she had was there, but doesn't it make more sense to sell through that and buy it at the next sale? Makes more sense, right? We can control everything that happens on our Amazon store, except for the times when we are building it so beautiful and so big, and we hold on to it because there's nobody that's allowed to buy any of our inventory. And we're sitting there and we're literally slugging through mud, thousands of dollars invested in product that's not moving because we have to make a certain amount of money. Take the pressure off of it, guys. Take the pressure off of it, and let's start looking at like what are the contributions you can make to your household and what does that look like, right? So now we're going to figure out how do we compound all of it, yeah? We're going to take one shipment and it's going to become two. Then we're going to take one product and it's going to become 10. And then we're going to take that payout, which I wish I would have talked about in this section, which was about compounding, but we're going to take that payout and we're going to make it consistent. So what does one shipment becomes two? One optimized shipment a week that goes out with 5 boxes equal of everything, and one random shipment every couple of days of just anything you can find that you throw into a box where you don't have so much attention on it. One optimized shipment of 5 boxes with products that you have been replenishing. And if you don't have enough replenishments, then you need more of those individual boxes that have random shit in it until you figure out where you're going to get this extra car payment, extra house payment, these additional bills, which lessen the pressure you have to be at the other job, right? So what does one product becomes 10 means? Well, every brand that you get approved for is an opportunity, or it becomes a source of income for you. So if I get approved for this dry shampoo brand, then you best believe that I'm going to be in the flirty floral. I'm going to be in the sensitive scalp. I'm going to be in every scent that there is because I need to find out where I'm going to get my money from. I don't need to go deep on them. We've talked about this many times, not only in my premium group, but I talk about it here. You don't need any more than 2 units to find out how much more you need to send in. Because if the 2 don't sell, then you're either going to break even on them, or you're going to lose money on them, or you're going to liquidate them, or they're going to return to you and you're going to sit there and go, that was the worst investment ever. You don't need 50, you need 2. That's it, in a box with a bunch of other random shit. And as soon as it sells, you'll know. If they open the box and it goes through FC transfer and 2 of them sell in the first hour, you need 60. That is not hard math. You don't need a calculator. You don't need a genius. You don't need to be a rocket scientist. You don't need any of that shit. If it sells in the first hour, you need 2 times 30 days is 60. And you can actually do the math yourself on that. Lot easier to understand. No sense in going in extra. You're going to go in extra on other products, and then you're going to say, oh, well, then that inventory is sitting and it's not making what it, you don't need to complain about it. Just keep trying other opportunities until your restock reports start looking big enough that you can actually do more. And that comes from taking one brand at a time, picking it apart and finding out where you can make money. Now, the payout option that we talked about in consistency, and Stacy says she does hers every Friday. This is a great example. This is a consistent payout. How do you take something that's supposed to be a side hustle that looks like you're selling goods and goods online, e-commerce activity, and turn it into something that has a consistent and steady paycheck? And that becomes your payouts. And whether you do them the way I do it, where I get those 2 payouts every week, or you do it the way she does, where you get it every Friday, it changes the dynamics and it puts you a little bit closer to the mental training you received over time to always get a paycheck. Because that's what you have been a part of. We've all been a part of it when we worked our 9 to 5s, or we worked our salary positions. You were paid a certain day all the time. It became so consistent that it felt very difficult to get away from it as well, right? So then you have your payout. It comes every 2 weeks. You go there. You've got your inventory compounding because you keep sending more inventory. You're replenishing products as they sell, the ones that actually have some kind of momentum. And now you have data that's drawn from all of it that's building up confidence for you. This didn't happen overnight. This took time to build, right? First, you have to get rid of the pressure. You take the pressure off, you're like, okay, now let's go ahead and try and see what we can do, right? You put the pressure on yourself, you're going to fucking fail over and over again. You're going to fall flat on your face because you have to have it right now. And it just doesn't work that way. And I wish that the environment did not make it seem like you have to have it now and you can get it right now. It just doesn't work that way. It really doesn't. So let's talk a little bit about the next part, which is your identity shift, which is more of this emotional state. This is where you stop hoping that things are happening, right? And you start expecting these sales to come in, right, with what you're using, and that's your data. Your side hustle changes your life long before it replaces your income, and it changes how trapped you feel. And I'm not trying to dig in with people who are working full-time jobs, but you're trapped. Bought into this lifestyle and bought into this whole thing that we have to go to school and we got to go here, we got to work all the time, and and how am I going to have any extra time, and how am I going to do all this stuff, and now I got to go and source products after hours, and I don't even know where I'm going to do. How am I supposed to hang out with my kids? How am I supposed to do all this stuff? Give yourself some grace. Fuck, you're not going to learn it overnight. And there's so many times I get people that are like, how do I predict? And God love our community chat. Sometimes people say inside the chat, how am I supposed to know if that's going to happen again? You don't. You don't. So there's nothing you can do about it. And those are the moments you realize that it's out of your control and there's nothing you can do about it. And you got to learn how to let go of it. You got to learn how to let go of it, right? Sherry made it in here. Good to have you in here. Joy made it in. Good to have you. Yvette. Hello, Lisa. How are you doing? Penny Lee, thanks so much for joining. Evelyn, good to have you in here. Let's see. I miss anybody else? Kayla's here. What? Melvin made it. What? Melvin, you ain't said anything stupid in the chats yet. I'm waiting for that moment when Melvin's like, I think I'll drop a lead. You just never know with him from time to time there. You never know. You just never know. But Melvin, you weren't in here when I said 2 units on a test buy, so don't don't do anything weird in the chats. Don't, right? So this is what I'm trying to get you to understand is that your side hustle it can turn into that paycheck. It can turn into all of those. Mel is like, come at me with the 2 unit BS. I never done it any other way. And I've been just perfectly fine when it comes to restock reports and all that stuff. Perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. It's always the ones where I send too much where I find myself sitting there going, damn, I wish I wouldn't have sent that much. I always say that too. I'm like, damn, I'm overstocked. I'm overstocked and we have to drop this price down, right? Melvonomics isn't for anybody. It's not for everyone. Not for anybody. It's for him. Okay, so outside of that, does anybody have any questions? Because I don't want to make it a long talk, but I want it to impinge enough for you to understand what direction you're supposed to be going and how to ease the pressure off yourself so that you can actually do something, right? We're talking about changing how we feel about the way we make money and then letting each thing naturally occur through our goals and our targets that we set for ourselves, and then putting ourselves now in a position that we can take it to the next level. But it all comes in time when we build it, and we build it in that same manner that I was explaining there in the beginning. If you want to learn how to build an Amazon business step by step with live workshops, sourcing calls, mentorship, and a community of sellers growing together, join the free community and start taking action. You don't need to become rich overnight. You just need momentum.